In this series, I'm partnering with Xbox. They gave me a free PC Game Pass code. As you know, Xbox Game Pass is a huge library of games that you can enjoy with a monthly subscription. I think it's a really cool way and opportunity to try games that are out of my comfort zone or games that I normally wouldn't be interested in buying. Keep in mind that my opinions are my own. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is my first pick. I saw it on people's streams and I was like, meh. My first thoughts when looking at it were just another story-driven AAA game with hours of cinematics and 10 seconds of gameplay. Let me tell you now, I was horribly wrong. First of all, the game is developed by a small studio. If I read correctly, it's around 30 people. Second of all, and this has to be said, the game is dark and violent. I'm talking about things like dying, giving up, and thinking about ending all this before the actual time comes. On the other hand, I find Expedition 33 quite inspirational, not to mention its artistic tone when it comes to the world's creation. I just want you to be aware, especially if you're going through a hard time in your life, that the game is definitely thought-provoking. For more vulnerable people, maybe even challenging. But it's not just all about quote-unquote sad stuff. And at the end of the brush, I personally find it encouraging. I would say that Expedition 33 is full of contradictions. The darker it gets, the more hope it brings. With all that being said, let's go back to square one. We start in a beautifully, partially devoured place called Lumière, which means light in French. The place reminds me of Paris, with a crooked, kinda melted Eiffel Tower and torn Triumphal Arch buildings. A little later, we find out that Lumière is an island. The city, or what's left of it, is filled with a lively emptiness, full of people who will soon cease to exist. They are preparing for a festival called Gommage, which means raise in French. There are flowers everywhere, cut with floating ruins of buildings and a slimy, rocky substance that seems to silently flood Lumière with its stillness. Colorful sadness everywhere. We meet Gustave looking at the monolith with the carved number 34 standing proudly on the horizon line in the shade of an eclipsed sun, which looks like a black hole. Maël shows up and the two have a dialogue full of meaningful pauses about withered people and dying flowers. I didn't understand much at first, but then the game forced me to play through the prologue one more time because my save was gone for some reason. Starting over after finishing the prologue is actually something I would recommend. It makes things clearer and more interesting. When I finally got to control Gustave and had a chance to look around, it took me a while to take Lumière in, the beautiful sadness of it. The second time I played the prologue, I looked around even more. I was more curious about the people and what they had to say. There are so many details. Even though the path leading to the harbor is quite narrow, the place feels vast. It's amazing how the Expedition 33 creators captured the perspective of things. I was, and still am, amazed by the prologue, how it starts, how it ends, the characters, and how it all, importantly, doesn't matter, but still stayed in my memory. When the paintress stood up and changed the numbers from 34 to 33, it almost felt like the game was over. I remember I even said out loud, what now? Oh, I forgot to say, I've recorded the entire playthrough, but in this video I'd like to focus only on the first 5 hours of the game, my impressions and how my thoughts and opinions about the game kept changing. Let's take a little break from this poetic gibberish of mine and talk about the technical aspects of the game. First and foremost, Expedition 33 is incredibly well optimized. I'd like to avoid saying things like this game will run on this and that graphics card because every PC is different, but I can tell you that I tried running the game on my 10-year-old PC and I could easily play it in 1080p 60 frames per second on medium graphics settings. On my main PC I can play on high settings with no problem. No stutters, no FPS drops, the experience is smooth, and loading screens don't happen too often and don't take too long. The second technical aspect I'd like to talk about is the responsiveness of the controls. I have mixed feelings here. When we're exploring, running around, or picking up items, it all works well, but climbing and jumping feel like they lag a bit. During combat, everything works fine except for dodging and parrying, which sometimes feel noticeably delayed. And by noticeably, I mean like half a second. But since the game is fast-paced, that delay does make a difference. It seems like the keyboard is more laggy than the controller in these cases, and I prefer playing with mouse and keyboard, so it's a little frustrating sometimes. Okay, so back to the gameplay. Shortly after the first cutscene, we have the option to duel with Mael, which serves as the combat tutorial. Everything is explained clearly, no complaints. But as soon as I realized that the combat, even though it's turn-based, heavily depends on real-time dodging and parrying, which boils down to pressing a key at the exact right moment, and the window for that is tiny, even on normal difficulty, well, let's just say it's something I dislike in games, and I'm bad at it. When the gommage was done and Expedition 33 with Gustav and Mael on board was literally thrown onto the shore of the, let's say, evil continent to avoid spoilers, I had to wait through more cutscenes with even longer pauses mixed with a few seconds of linear gameplay. This is where the game started to get a little monotonous for me. Of course, I learned about the roleplay aspect of the game. We can unlock abilities, distribute attribute points as we level up, find new weapons, and pick up pictos, which are basically passive boosts that level up individually. When a pictos is fully mastered, it unlocks its special effect called Lumina. It's all cool, but that cursed dodging and parrying, right? During combat, when we choose to use a skill to attack, we have to press a key to enhance it. If we press the key at the exact right moment, we land a perfect skill attack. And that I found super cool and engaging. Because despite all the visual chaos, there is a clear indicator of when to press the enhance key. But when it comes to parrying or dodging, there is no such indication. No hint of when or how I should react, and enemy attacks can be really confusing. Also, running around those narrow paths felt like an illusion of exploration. All that made me think, okay, I'll just play for 1-2 more hours to have enough footage and enough to say about the game, and then I'm done with it. Again, I was horribly wrong. The more I failed, the more I learned. The more I missed parries, the more I started getting the hang of it. The breakthrough came during the first boss fight. Alright, no first attack? No. What am I supposed to do? Dodged. Am I good or am I good? Now. Perfect. Perfect. Not perfect. Overcharge. You could. Yes, 10 out of 10. I don't know what that means.
For those who come after.
Perfection. Haha. What? Xbox, stop. Burn. No. Parried. Oh my goodness. Parried. My goodness. I started paying attention to which skills to use. I noticed I could create synergies between characters. I learned the boss's attacks so I knew when to parry. All that visual chaos blurred out for me and I started to see the things that mattered. The first boss made me want to play the game more. After the first boss, the game opened up and showed up a wider view of the continent, where we can set up camp anywhere, freely explore, and enter instanced locations. It still feels linear despite the side quests and merchants, but then again, it's not a game about cutting wood, building houses and surviving zombies. It's an adventure. The second boss I encountered, the trumpet guy, really hyped me up. Now that I think about it, the boss fights are what truly hooked me and made me want to keep playing. You know, learning their moves to parry or dodge effectively, trying different strats, paying attention to which skills I use and when. In my opinion, the combat is the strongest point of the game. When the trumpet guy was gone, I felt good and I just wanted to keep fighting. I started picking fights with mobs even when I didn't have to. Sometimes I would defeat monsters, go back to the expedition flag, which works kinda like bonfires in Dark Souls, rest, reset the monsters, and fight them again. And I wanted to. I completely forgot about skill points or attributes, I just kept fighting. Again, in my opinion, the combat is what this game does best. It's just super enjoyable. On my way to the third boss, there are more items to find, more mysteries and questions, and astonishing views. The game looks straight up amazing. Not just in open spaces, but also in places like the manor interior. I was flying around it with Luna for like 30 minutes, staring at all the paintings and tiny details. I even tried to break that insanely long table. It didn't work. Expedition 33 can be spooky sometimes, but don't worry, no jump scares. All that was awesome, but what made me really happy was getting to the third boss. Okay, so. What was that? Excuse you. Excuse you. What are you doing now? Flowers. Healing? I knew it. I knew it. But burn. One shield is down. Bad. So keep on sparking. Yes.
For those who come after.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Burn. 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 After I defeated the boss, I decided to burn my save and start over. But this time on expert difficulty. Now, what can I tell you about this story without spoiling it? Some characters will stay in my memory for a long time, but some of them felt unnecessary. What's weirder is that for me, the characters that appear for 20 minutes or an hour in a 30+ hour game are more vibrant and interesting than a character that stays for pretty much the entire story. It starts perfectly. It has its downsides, crazy plot twists, the mystery, and no spoilers. At least not in this video. The game is absolutely amazing. Worth playing, worth buying, in my opinion. The devs deserve all the support. Oh, and the music. The music is 10 out of 10. That's all I'm gonna say. So, this is how my thoughts evolved about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, from being meh and frustrated with the combat to wanting to finish it and actually finishing it on expert difficulty. This is exactly what I hoped to find when I got a free PC Game Pass code from Xbox. A chance to dare myself to try something I normally wouldn't, and be surprised by the outcome. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for every single subscription and thumb up. See you in the next episode or in other videos on the channel. And that would be it for now. Bye.